One of my favorite experiences on the Miami mission trip was being able to do VBS with the kids and just telling them how much God loves them and how special they are in His eyes.
My favorite memory on the mission trip to Miami was when we had a chance to go out into the neighborhoods and do VBS. And the first neighborhood that we arrived in, as soon as we got off the bus, all the kids were running over to us and jumping on us. One kid actually hopped on my back, and I had no idea who the kid was. And so that just really showed the work that the Homestead Church of Christ is doing out there in Homestead, really touching the community. And while we're doing the VBS, the kids were so excited, they were so into it, and it was just very encouraging because to know that you're making a positive impact on the kids and being able to share Jesus with them, it's a blessing. So that was my favorite memory while on the mission trip.
My favorite part of the trip was definitely going and doing VBS with the kids. Before we left to go and do that, they needed 3 people to volunteer to teach the story of the woman and the 10 coins. And at first, I was very apprehensive. I was like, I do not want to go and do this in the first place. I'm not that good at interacting with kids or playing with kids. I never really had much experience doing so in the first place, especially not teaching them. But it weighed in into my heart, and I ended up volunteering to do this. And I was praying about it. I just wanted to give all the effort, all of my focus to God and just see what He could do with me through this experience. And I can't even explain to you how blessed it was. I had the best time of my life. I had more fun than the kids, I feel like, leading them and playing with them, racing with them, picking them up, throwing them in the air, teaching them. It was just so awesome, and I couldn't have ever imagined it being so cool. But it was only from me giving that all, giving my effort to God and just being like, use me in this situation, was that it ended up being blessed and a great time. And what I can take out of that is just, no matter what, if I'm not feeling it, if I'm not feeling it going and talking to someone, I'm not feeling it to read the word, if I just give my effort to God, He's going to bless me in ways that I didn't imagine or I couldn't see for myself. And it really taught me a lesson that week, and I really loved it.
Hello, everyone. So my favorite part of the mission trip was going to feed the homeless on Monday. It was a good experience. We got to feed the homeless, of course, and pray with them, and we got to experience a lot of people on the way, and we got to hear a lot of people's stories. There were so many people who really wanted to get out of that life, but they really didn't have a way out. They felt hopeless, and it was just an experience to remember, because it just, you gain so much compassion for these people, and it was a good experience. It was something I've been wanting to do for a long time, just to help them, just by feeding them that day and being there, praying with them and listening, being a listening ear to them. And it just gave me so many more people to add to my prayer list.
Thank you.
My favorite experience from our mission trip to Florida was doing the prayer walk on Miami-Dade College. So I paired up with a former aimer named Audrey, and at first we felt kind of awkward praying out loud while we walked around. So in order to make it less awkward, I asked her to start praying for me, because I've experienced a lot more joy in my faith and more confidence. So we walked around for a little while. We walked up and down the stairs, didn't find anybody for a while. We went to the library, found this one guy who didn't want us to pray for him. We found a hallway of students. None of them directly asked us to pray, but Audrey said, let us pray for them. Towards the end of our prayer walk, we came to a fork in the hallway, and I saw these 4 guys studying for a test. So I go over to them and asked them, may I pray for y'all? And he said, sure, pray for us to pass this test. So their names are Pablo, Aldo, Stefan, and Danny, and they're all aviation guys, which I thought was cool. So I sat down on the floor with them, and I put my hands on Stefan and Danny's shoulders, and they're like completely taken aback, like they've never experienced this before. And they didn't know what to do, so I just told them to close their eyes and bow their heads. So I prayed for them to pass their test, and I thanked God for this beautiful day that we had on the campus. And then after I finished, I stood up and shook all their hands, and Danny asked me to remind him what my name was. So it was just so amazing, you know. I'm so used to people already knowing how to pray, and it was just an interesting experience just telling these guys how to pray and giving them a couple of minutes of my time.
From the Miami mission trip when we went to Florida was Monday. We went out to feed the homeless. We made I think it was about 100 bags with just a couple sandwiches, of water, and some chips, cookies. And we took them out, and we went to Miami. We rode the metro train into downtown. That was a really cool experience. I'd never been on a train like that before. Really reminded me of the movies when you see people in New York riding the rail. And so we split up into about 5 groups. We each had about 20 bags, and we just went around and looked for homeless people, and they weren't really that hard to find. They were all over the place, hundreds of them. And so we would just go up to different groups, and we would give them a bag. We would encourage them and tell them, that we love them, and we'd pray with them. And so one really cool experience was we were looking the whole day for people to eat with, for us to eat our lunch with, because we'd also brought a bag along with us to eat. And we found these 3 guys under this bridge, and their names were Eric, Chris, and Lance. And they'd been there for quite a while. And we ate with them. We had a meal with them. I guess we were there for about 30 or 40 minutes. And they just told us their life story. We told them about our life story and what Jesus had done for us. And we just told them about Jesus. And then we prayed for them. And then we went out to go find some more people. That was just a really awesome experience, just to share a lunch with those guys. But my favorite experience was meeting this guy named Reuben. So we were winding down to the end of our time. We were going to meet back up at the rail to head back into to go back to Homestead at about 3:45, I think. And it was close to 3. And we had this $10 that we were supposed to use for anything we wanted. It could be buying somebody shoes or buying them food, just giving the whole $10 to them. And so I was thinking, what can I do with this $10? And so there's this guy named Reuben down the street. He had this sign that said, "Please help me," by the red light there. So anybody that wanted to give to him could give him money in this little cup. And so I went down and I said, "Hey, what's your name?" And he said, "I'm Reuben." And I said, "I'm Christian." And we came out today from Homestead Church of Christ. And we're just looking to bless people. And I said, "Are you hungry?" And he said, "Yeah, I'm hungry." So I said, "Where do you want to eat?" And he said, "Burger King. It's just around the corner there to the left." So I said, "I'll go buy you a meal. Let's go." And he said, "Really?" And I was like, "Yes, really." And so I went and got Dylan. And me and him went with Reuben to this Burger King. And we walk in, and I said, "You can go up to the counter, order anything you want. It's on me." And he just looks at me, and he's like, "Are you sure?" "Like anything I want." And I said, "Yeah, you go get you anything you want, man." And so he goes up there, and he gets a double patty bacon cheeseburger and an Oreo shake. And there was just pure joy on his face and amazement. And that was what made it my favorite time of the trip. Seeing this joy on this guy's face, and it was just pure grace. And he couldn't understand it, but he was just so happy. And so we got to eat with him for I think it was about 40 minutes. And he told us his life story, how he's from North Carolina. And he hitchhiked down to Florida. And his life hadn't really had a whole lot of meaning. He's 46 years old. And he'd just gotten out of jail about a couple hours earlier. And he was trying to get his life together. And so he told us his life story. And then we told him our life story, me and Dylan there, while we were eating in Burger King. And just told him what Jesus did for us. And, when we were hungry, Jesus fed us. When we were thirsty, Jesus gave us something to drink. When we were homeless, Jesus gave us a home. And so just this pure message of hope, and just the look on his face was pure amazement. And he literally told us, "This is Jesus." This is Jesus Christ. Apparently he'd never heard this message before. He'd never heard this about Jesus. This loving and graceful character about Jesus. And so we got to share that with him. And I just told him, that's what Jesus did to us, and that's what we want to do to you. That's what we want to do to everybody around us. And he just had this look on his face. He was just taken aback. He couldn't understand. He'd never heard it before. And you could tell there were some wheels turning in his mind about who Jesus was. And I was just really glad that Jesus allowed us to share that message with Reuben that day. And so that was my favorite story in time from the trip in Homestead.